Okay.
It's a story about two characters. It's a very Buddhist story. One of the characters is called 1211 because he lives in apartment 1211, or he's subletting apartment 1211 on West 70th Street. And the second character is a woman who's diagnosed with bipolar disorder. 1211 graduated from Yale, majored in statistics, and now works for a business. He's very smart, very successful, very worldly, and very cultured. And Princess Carkegee, who is the character of the book, who's the woman, is very fragile, very vulnerable, very dependent, very beautiful, blonde, long, wavy hair, blue eyes, and she is dating 1211 at the time, but 1211 is a future Tathagata, so he meditates and he's very Buddhist, and he has brown hair and blue eyes, and he's slightly psychic, like he knows what Princess Carkegee is thinking, and in the future he becomes a great Buddha, great Tathagata. And Princess Carkegee is dealing with the person who she's dating, who's her future husband, who's going to be a Tathagata, but she's also dealing with bipolar disorder. So the Buddhists who follow the Tathagata 1211 will visit Princess Carkegee and will try to teach her some Buddhist concepts, but because she doesn't really understand, she throws like these fits of jealousy or these fits of anger, or like she'll be like a little bit superficial, like she'll want to go shopping or get a manicure. Like she doesn't understand quite yet what path 1211 is taking. So, and 1211's very independent in the sense that his father died very young. His mother took care of him, and he went to a public school, and he just happened to get into Yale. And Princess Carkegee got into a good school too. She went for a year, and then she just couldn't handle it. There was too many audiovisual things happening that she gave it up. So now how they met was pretty interesting, because Princess Carkegee thought that there was this boy that she was in love with who was following her around. But he wasn't following her around. Or she doesn't know if he was following her around or not. And he happened to they both went to a small school in Long Island. She was in 9th grade. She was very quiet, very shy, but very friendly and generous. And the boy was very popular and very smart, like president of all the clubs. And he happened to get into Harvard. And then she moved away, and he went to Harvard for a year. But then he left Harvard, or she thought that he left Harvard, to follow her around in New York. And then somehow she developed the notion that he was following her around in New York, and that he had become friends with 1211, and that it turned into this paranoia where this boy was almost stalking her, and she almost ended up hating 1211. But in a fit of rage, she decided to knock on 1211's door, but 1211 wasn't there, and two friends happened to visit and open the door, and they were very friendly to her, and then she happened to leave, and she had put a Post-it, because she thought that this boy had gone up to the apartment upstairs and put a Post-it note that said, like, stalker. So she had put a Post-it note in her neighbor's door that said stalking is illegal. So she met 1211 in an elevator, because they lived in the same building at that time, and she just started to talk to him, and at that time she almost like hated him because she thought that he was friends or helping this guy who was stalking her. And they became friends. And 1211 knew this because 1211 was psychic, in the sense that he knew exactly what she was thinking. And he was a bit amused. Like, he's Virgo, and and she's Pisces, and he's very mature in the sense that even though he's psychic, he doesn't really judge other people's thoughts. But like Princess Carkegee happened to be like very difficult to not judge, but in that sense that he naturally just didn't judge her for her thoughts. And they met in the elevator. But what's interesting is that what happens to Princess Carkegee is like she'll go through the whole kind of extreme state where she'll be like, oh, I'm the queen of the gods, and I've married like the king of the gods in a past life, and I've fallen from grace, and now I live on earth, to like, oh, I'm going to cause the end of the world, all these people are going to die, everyone's going to be destructed, and I sin so much that God hates me, and he's going to destroy the world because I think bad thoughts. She fluctuates between those two. Like, she doesn't actually 100% believe it, but it's also like she doesn't know it could be possible. Like, she isn't going to go out and kill herself. It's just like, it's very possible that it's true, and she has to deal with all this, and she doesn't understand. And 1211's disciples come and visit her, and they try to be very Buddhist in the sense that they'll be like, okay, we're here, try to be compassionate, try to meditate for 3 hours, do this, do that. And then she'll go off on a tangent and be like, oh, maybe this is happening because I'm going to become a great Adi Buddha. And then there was this one time where the Buddha would come and visit her to try to teach her enlightenment. And she thought, oh, the Buddha is so gracious, maybe I should teach him enlightenment too. So then she started to spend a whole hour trying to teach the Buddha enlightenment. Or like tell the Buddha, like, yes, you're enlightened, but the enlightenment that I achieve as an Adi Buddha is greater, so one day I'll be able to teach you. I mean, she's just being insecure and trying to figure out how to get back to that sense of security by like making things up. Like when she was little, she was extremely depressed. She was very sad, and she like had a lot of friends, but she was extremely like sad. And 1211 knows that the reason why she was sad was because in her past immediate life, her name was Georgia, and she was married to a lawyer. She was very popular, and she had many boyfriends, and she had a great mother, a great father, and her parents just let her go out and do whatever. And she had many, many boyfriends, and then she got married to a lawyer, and he was like so rich and successful. They would go off to the Bahamas or the Caribbean. They would always be doing things. They would only drink hard liquor, like glasses with ice, and they would go off and go skiing in Maine. Like, they were always doing something exciting. And I guess that's when she first developed her depression, because she had a miscarriage in like 1968, and she got very depressed. And at that time, her husband thought maybe she should see one of my good friends, a psychologist. So then she started seeing a psychologist, and since then she's been very depressed. And then she died in a car accident at the age of 35, and then she was reborn in, I guess, 1984. And she was very beautiful. She was very beautiful in her past life. And the life before that, she was a very noble woman in Japan. She had like powdered white face, red lipstick, and like long black hair. And she was married to a Japanese man, and the Japanese man happened to have a geisha, and she got very used to that whole kind of openness. And so like when she thought that she was, so people keep visiting her and telling her, like, look, like, you're going to all these hells, you're offending all these people, you have all these things, and like you're accumulating a lot of negative karma. And then she just, like, being bipolar, she just goes like very serious about it, and she thinks that she's seriously going to hell. So like but for some reason she's not as depressed as she was when she was little. And then her husband from her past immediate life, thinking, oh, my wife from the past life Princess Carkegee is going to hell. I should exert myself and like try to attain enlightenment to try to save her. So then he tries, and remarkably, he's very good at it. Like he's Pisces, and she's Pisces, so they're very compatible in the sense that like he really strove to try to become a Buddha, and then he becomes the 49th, or she might be mistaken, the 29th Tathagata. So all these people, like she's very like she's Buddhist. Her parents are Buddhist.
So